Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, are breast cancer awareness campaigns helping or hurting our understanding of the disease? October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So much offline, so much more online. What do you have for us, Malika Bilal?
There definitely is. So there are several popular hashtags people are using to raise awareness of breast cancer. These are just 3 of them. But all of this pink has brought some backlash, and that comes with the hashtag pinkwashing. Many people are critiquing corporations for profiting off of the disease. You can tell us with hashtag AJStream.
The colour pink has become synonymous with breast cancer awareness, but with numerous pink products and pink initiatives, what does being aware really mean? In the United States, breast cancer is one of the leading killers of women. 1 in 8 will develop the disease sometime in their life, and around 230,000 are diagnosed each year. That's according to the American Cancer Society. During Breast Cancer Awareness Month, some patients are speaking out against campaigns they say minimise the seriousness of their disease. With us today are women who have dealt with breast cancer firsthand. Via Skype in Los Angeles, Nikki Black, a comedian who was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 23. In Middletown, Pennsylvania, Lee Hurst, she started the Feel Your Boobies Foundation after she discovered she had breast cancer. In Sacramento, California, Ann Silberman, who writes the blog Breast Cancer, but Doctor, I Hate Pink. She currently has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, Mandy Hudson, she also has stage 4 metastatic breast cancer and writes the blog Darn Good Lemonade. Ladies, it is really good to have you here in the show. Let me show you something on my laptop. The stream team did a little bit of digging. We went through the archives, the Estee Lauder archives. This is a letter from the editor from Self magazine. Wear this ribbon and make a difference. I'm going to scoot down here. And this was from October 1992, and it was to bring awareness so people in the States actually knew that breast cancer was a disease that they needed to lobby Washington, D.C. to get more research done, for more understanding to be done. And you could either write in for a pink ribbon or go to the Estee Lauder counter and pick up a pink ribbon. So all these years later, we're again in Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Anne, and as somebody who actually has metastatic cancer right now, how do you feel about this month?
Well, it doesn't. Back in 1992, perhaps women needed to be educated about breast cancer a bit more. Our culture in the United States is thoroughly saturated with pink. The fact is 40,000 women a year will die of breast cancer. In 1992, 40,000 women died of breast cancer, and in 1972, 40,000 women died of breast cancer. So the numbers are not changing, and it's, in my opinion, a failure. At this point, we need the money spent on research and not awareness.
See, Nikki, I see you nodding, but there's so many people out there right now, like for this actual month, who are out there and they're running and they're walking and they're fundraising, and they might feel a bit upset by what you're suggesting, which is what?
That when we say awareness, what are we actually even aware of? People have no idea what it's like to have breast cancer. People don't know that you can lose your nipples, or that as a young woman I had to go into fertility treatments and everything. People just don't consider it. You have things
or
like
your life.
Yeah. There was a police force in Massachusetts that actually started having pink handcuffs this month, which to me is totally offensive, and it's unhelpful, and they're not donating money, and it just seems like an attention grabber, and it feels like they're just using the disease to raise their own sort of public persona.
It's
and for
become
me
a
personally,
national holiday.
Yeah.
And a marketing event.
Something that
I think there are.
Go ahead, Mandy.
I was going to say,
I think there. Oh, go ahead.
Nikki, I'm going to just bring Mandy in and then we'll come back to you. Go ahead, Mandy, jump in.
Oh, I was going to say, I think there are 2 sides to this. I think in some ways it has been overdone, but a lot of organizations do bring money to research and help a lot of patients with their needs through treatment. And sometimes we get a little too, we're too pinked out, but at the same time, we do need to look at the fact that we shouldn't stop raising funds for research. We shouldn't stop helping patients with their treatment. And
I would agree with that, raising money for research, but raising money for awareness, which is what the Komen Foundation does. They spend almost all their money on awareness. We're all aware of breast cancer and breasts now, and that money is wasted. So I'm totally with you on research.
So Mandy and Anne, I hear your slight disagreement there, but there is also a little bit of agreement in the middle there. And of course, you mentioned the Komen Foundation, which is Susan G. Komen, one of the biggest foundations here in the United States that focuses on cancer awareness. I wanted to bring in our community, though, on this because there's a little nuance they're bringing. And Lee, I'll direct this to you. This is from Phyllis, who tweeted in, awareness hasn't changed the death count. Just write a check. Fund research, not awareness. That's a point one of our other guests have made. But I want you to have a listen to this video comment from Melissa and hear what she had to say.
I'm 40. I was diagnosed with breast cancer at age 37. Pink ribbon culture and awareness have done little to nothing to end the 40,000 deaths of American men and women in the last 30 years. We need research, not ribbons. Pink isn't a cure. We need to help our brothers and sisters who have stage 4 to stop dying. Pink ribbon culture is fleecing and fooling well-intentioned Americans, and it's time we stop it. Our future depends on it.
So Lee, some strong words there. Research, not ribbons. What do you make of that?
Couldn't agree more.
Well, as someone who runs an organization focused on education and often gets people confuse that with awareness, and I see it as very different. You know, we have a responsibility within the breast cancer community to determine what we accept from the corporate culture with regard to the way they donate their funds. We have said no to partnerships that have been suggested to us because we don't feel like it's a positive message to be sending into the community. And so certain commercialism that occurs within the breast cancer community can be stopped by people not accepting the donations from companies that you don't agree with the way they're promoting certain products. And certainly the consumers can stop buying them. So, you know, for us, we really promote education in the community of women that until there's a cure, there are young women getting diagnosed with breast cancer. And I never thought about breast cancer. When I was diagnosed, I didn't have a family history. I found a lump that the doctors did not feel. And so the messages that were out there at the time did not reach me. And so our goal is to have a proactive message that focuses on behavior change. It's not a tongue-in-cheek slogan for the sake of being tongue-in-cheek. It's actually a proactive behavior change that can help women
it's
find
very
a lump
accessible. The idea of fill your boobies is what you would say to your girlfriend. What are you trying to do with just even the name of the foundation?
Our guiding principle is the idea not only to be a proactive message, but to make it a more peer-to-peer conversation. So as opposed to an authority figure like a doctor or a mother kind of preaching to a younger person about some behavior that they need to adopt, like I gotta floss my teeth every day, and wow, that sounds really boring, or like one more thing I have to do. Our goal is to make it more conversational between young women so that it's a more approachable topic, and it's not to make it seem less serious. Certainly aware, I've gone through it myself. I've lost many friends to breast cancer who were metastatic at diagnosis. So it's not to paint the picture that breast cancer is always survivable, but for a population that doesn't talk about breast cancer hardly at all, the first step is to behavior change, is getting their attention in a way that talks to them in their language, and hopefully, and we have testimonials that prove this, do actually result in women feeling their own breast and finding lumps that they bring to a doctor's attention.
See, I'm intrigued.
Every study shows that feeling your own breast does not solve the problem of breast cancer. It doesn't cure any breast cancer, and most women, like yourself, end up finding the lump anyway. It's kind of a waste of time, especially in today's society when pink is everywhere and everybody knows about feeling your breasts.
Let Nikki just
I don't know if I agree with that. I mean,
and I want you to hear Nikki. Nikki, how did you find your lump?
I found it while I was showering, actually, doing a self-exam.
Right.
So.
Okay. All right, so there are going to be different opinions here, and I think that's important to hear from everybody. You've all got first-hand experience here of breast cancer. A couple of things I'm going to throw out here. Metastatic means that basically the cancer spread from your breast around your body. Stage 4 also means the cancer is now spread around your body as well. And Mandy, I'm just wondering, how much knowledge is there out there? We've had a couple of decades worth of awareness campaigns for breast cancer, so many. How knowledgeable are people when they come up and talk to you about your situation? Because your cancer is terminal. You have metastatic breast cancer. It's spreading around your body.
It's amazing how many people don't know what metastatic breast cancer is and think stage 4 is still a survivable disease. I don't know where in the messaging that information has gone awry, and that's what concerns me when we kind of freak out and try and deviate away from the pink ribbon culture. Not that I'm an overly pink person, but I do think that we have to look at the awareness efforts and combine it with metastatic awareness efforts, because if people aren't aware that we're still dying, then they're not going to put the energy and the funding into the research that we need in order to find a cure. And without a cure for stage 4 breast cancer, there is no cure for breast cancer.
Yeah, is that the main message, Anne, that it's not something that you can just fix by checking your breasts regularly?
Yes, the whole culture around breast cancer, the pictures behind you, it's healthy women running races, when in reality, those of us with metastatic breast cancer, and anybody can end up metastatic, no matter how early their breast cancer is caught. Mine was caught early, and 2 years later, I ended up with cancer in my liver, and it's spreading through my abdomen. The messaging is incorrect. It's not about healthy women. It's about women who are dying, who slowly lose their lives piece by piece and die. And somehow that is not what anybody's talking about. They're talking about, oh, gee, we lost our boob, but hey, we go on. People like that survival story, and that is not the story.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, Anne and Mandy, because there's something I want to share here. This is one of the things that we are noticing from our community, and it's this idea that not everyone knows that there are stages of breast cancer that you can die from. So that led to a rise in this hashtag, Pink2Black, and it's really to spread this awareness of that fact. And you see here, there's a die-in Washington, D.C., where people came to spread that message. Here's a tweet from someone with cancer who says, "No bra day," and she references one of the campaigns. "Are you kidding me?" she says, and she uses that hashtag Pink2Black. And it's campaigns like that that I want to push to you, Nikki, because we've seen things like No Bra Day, which are really to spread the idea that there are ways to deal with this, for women to deal with this themselves, but there's pushback to that idea. And I want to share this tweet. This is from Price of Silence. And she writes in, "I think this idea converges on the idea that women have to objectify to even have cancer be taken seriously by men." What do you make of that idea, Nikki?
That was completely my experience. I think the slogans like "save second base" and "save the tatas" are completely detrimental to the psyches of women dealing with it. You're reducing a woman to a body part that she's going to lose, and you're sexualizing her as she's going through chemo and feeling completely awful and in so much pain and sadness all the time. And it's sick to me. It makes me so upset.
Every year.
People felt completely fine coming up to me and asking me what size I was going to get after my reconstruction. I had a therapist say to me that breast cancer was a weird kind of fun for me because I got to pick my own size after. So I think the messaging around it is completely harmful and sexualized and disgusting.
Or your free mastectomy. I mean, not free mastectomy, but your free boob job that you're going to get. Isn't that great?
Oh, yeah, my free boob job.
That was
that I
one of the best ones out there.
Every year as a blogger, I get tons of email from people wanting me to promote their pink thing. And one of the people who always writes me is a pornographer. And they donate money for every 1 penny, by the way, for every 30 views of a porn video about boobs. Now, tell me that isn't sexualizing breast cancer, and tell me that people understand this disease when those kinds of things happen. It's not respectful.
Lee,
I can't even say anything about it.
It's really
Lee, do you feel that things have gone slightly out of control here, and that maybe the real important part of the research and getting people and money towards the research is that being missed? Or are there lots of ways to address this? And the fact that people actually, at least they know when they're giving money, that's worthwhile. It's quite complicated when you're watching this as a viewer, trying to work out, well, should I be helping or should I not be helping, or what should I be doing? Lee?
Well, I definitely think without funding research, there's not going to be a cure. So that is definitely paramount in terms of finding a cure to breast cancer. And within that, there's lots of different research streams that should be looked at. As you're hearing from women on the panel who are metastatic, there's lots of issues related to terminal diagnoses. There's also lots of streams of research that are important to young women related to reproductivity. The other panelist who had to consider her fertility issues before going through chemo, and I was in the same boat, not knowing if I'd be able to have children after my treatment, and I was able to go on and do that. So, I mean, I think everybody's personal journey brings to the surface different areas of research that are important to them based on the things that have happened to them, and I think that makes total sense. However, I think until there's a cure, there are lots of other areas of breast cancer that need to be supported financially in order to support survivors who are going through it and all the various services that they require. As I've mentioned, and I do see our campaign very different from Save the Tatas and Save Second Base, by the way. We focus on that pre-mammogram age, which of course is controversial right now. It just moved from 40 to 45. As a young woman who was diagnosed at 33, that's very concerning to me because that puts a whole new population of women that are not being screened clinically in any way, shape, or form through mammography or now potentially during their annual exams by doctors.
This is between a woman and her doctor, and the mammograms are not harmless by any means, and a young woman getting regular screenings with no risk factors could end up having the very disease that she fears. It doesn't say anything at all that a woman cannot be screened if it's necessary.
70 to 75% of women at a young age that get diagnosed have no risk factors. I had no risk factors, so that's one way to sort of filter out the most relevant audience.
You weren't found on screening. You were found with a lump.
So ladies, just so I can open up for our international audience here, in the United States right now, it's typical for you to get a mammogram, a breast examination at about age 40. But there are much younger women like Nikki and actually also like Lee who have found breast cancer much younger. And now the guidelines are suggesting that maybe you shouldn't even have a mammogram until you're age 45, which is leaving that check to even later. So that, as you can hear, is a little controversial. I'm going to push on a little bit. Malika, what do you have?
Well, I wanted to pick up on a point, Lee, that you made earlier about everyone's personal journey ending up into what they need being different. So this is a Facebook comment we got from Anne, who shares her own journey. And I'll share this with you, Mandy. Anne says, one thing that could have helped me was supportive services for transportation, housekeeping, childcare. None of those things are available to breast cancer victims, she writes, as a result of these fundraising efforts for things like races and walks. So what do you make of that, Mandy?
So I do know that a lot of the Komen organizations do keep 75% of the funds that they raise locally, and they fund grants based off of needs within that community. So if you are in a major city that did do fundraising like that, then they do fund those types of efforts. Usually you can contact your Komen office and find out.
I wonder, and I think that's valuable information, but I wonder also personally for you, as you're going through this and as you've been going through this, what were things that you wished you could have gotten support-wise from your community, from others who want to donate their time and their efforts?
Oh, I worked with a bunch of different organizations that were grantees of different fundraising efforts. I had an organization that brought me a chemo care bag right before I started chemo for my early stage breast cancer. And when we were talking diagnosed young, I was diagnosed at 30. I had no idea what was coming. And they brought me all of the things that I needed. I did a retreat, met other survivors that kind of helped me get different viewpoints. It was a supportive effort. I would have liked to get house cleaning. I never seem to be able to get signed up for that, even now as I'm going through metastatic treatment. But there are supportive services and counseling and different things that different patients need, but patients have different needs based on their situation and what they're going through.
See, Mandy, listening to you and Anne and Lee and Nikki, I get the sense that you're very comfortable about sharing. And it's a different kind of awareness when it comes from actually people who either have or had breast cancer. Let me show you something here. This is from BuzzFeed, and this is a story about Nikki and her double mastectomy. I'm just going to scoot down here, Nikki. And here you are, and you're okay with people seeing this, part of the process of healing for you. Why?
Because when I was first diagnosed, of course, a lot of the literature that you read is really negative and it's really scary. And I just wanted to give young women that might be experiencing something similar, something to look at that is maybe more positive or hopeful. And it's also a way for me to take back control of my body. If I'm making the decision to put it online, I'm taking ownership of that, and I'm completely fine. I think that people don't look at uncomfortable images enough. I think our society isn't okay with being uncomfortable, and you need to be uncomfortable to be able to learn. Learning isn't always going to be comfortable. It's definitely not always going to be sexy, and it's not going to be fun, but it's important.
Except that your breasts, your double mastectomy and tattoos are connected. Do you want to explain that connection? Because I can't show all the pictures.
Yeah, there are no nipples. But so the mastectomy tattoos I got, you have the choice. You can get fake nipples, you can get 3D nipple tattoos. I made the decision to get a Pisces design and totally just sidestep the nipples. But for me, it was a way to make my body feel like my own again. Because when you have breast cancer, you feel really trapped in your body. It becomes a very uncomfortable place to be. And now that I'm going through this process of healing and I've just started on my Lupron shots, I'm really trying to get back to
explain
myself.
what those shots are. I mean, we're literally doing breast cancer awareness right here, right now. What are those shots? What does that mean?
Lupron shots are, I believe they suppress your estrogen levels, if I'm correct. Sorry, my ovaries down. But I have to do them once a month for the next 5 years.
Why?
And my ovaries might stop working for that time period. I might get hot flashes and sort of arthritic pains.
Wow. All right, so we're literally doing breast cancer awareness right here on the show. I'm going to click over to something that Anne tweeted out quite recently. And this is a raw conversation. It's really important. This is what Anne says. This pic shows when my cancer is growing. You can see the problem. All the important stuff is there. So Anne, you've been in remission for a while. And then what did you find out?
I found out last week that cancer was back growing in my liver in that difficult area called the porta hepatis. It is also spreading through my abdomen. I had 2 years of remission thanks to a new drug, which is why research is so important. But unfortunately, with metastatic breast cancer, remissions don't last very long and you do always die. I have been on 7 chemos so far, and we'll start my 8th probably next week.
We're really glad you were here to tell us about Breast Cancer Awareness Month from your perspective, and the same with Mandy and Lee and Nikki. Different opinions, different perspectives, all from your different experiences. I want to talk a lot more, and we're going to take you to the post show at stream.aljazeera.com, so we can actually dig even deeper into your personal experiences. Meanwhile, online, Malika, what do you have?
One of the things as a tease for the post show that we can talk about is throughout this Pinktober, this is one of the things that our community member got out of it. He says, if we think of it in a less material sense, cancer patients and those affected, the family, benefit from the sense of community this creates. So we can talk about that community that's also created by sharing these stories online.
Let me just show you a couple of pictures here that kind of amazed us. This one here, it's big, it's ugly, and it eats your cash. Pink Nado. Enough said. And this is a comment here on maybe the commercialization of Breast Awareness Month. And then a couple of things. Here's the American Airlines plane wrapped up in a pink ribbon. And then finally, this is a drill bit from a fracking company doing our bit for the cure. Okay, we're all raising our eyebrows here. If you've got something to add to this conversation, you can do that online at stream.aljazeera.com. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Hello again, this is the Streams Online Post Show. We're talking about breast cancer awareness campaigns and what impact they have on people living with the disease. Let's get right back to the conversation via Malika Bilal. Malika.
Well, I want to start with the tweet that we teased you going into our post show. And so I'll direct this to you, and this was from Thissa, who talked about that sense of community that events like the ones we've been talking about might bring to people. And of course, I want to pivot also a little bit to that sense of community you perhaps find online by blogging and sharing these stories with other people. Is that one of the benefits of this? And do you think that that's something that you've benefited from?
Completely. I hadn't intended it to be that way. I started my blog just to update my family and friends, and it became something popular and people were taking comfort from it. A Facebook page came out of that. Now I feel like I have pocket friends, as somebody said. I can say something and they'll comfort me, vice versa. People write me for advice. A sense of community truly helps people get through hard times, and you can't discount that. And I do understand that's why some of the races and things are very popular.
See, Lee, I'm just thinking about Feel Your Boobies, because knowing that you're on the show today, I actually did a bit more of a check than I normally would do. It's like you reminded me. Thank you so much, Lee. What difference do you think you're making, your foundation is making?
Well, I know we have been the result that people have found their lumps because of our campaign, because they've reached out to tell me so. And, you know, I'm very aware that that doesn't necessarily mean that they will live forever from their diagnosis because they found their own lump. And I'm aware that I might not either. But I do know that it's having an impact in the age group that we are targeting. And this year we sent out free educational materials to college health centers nationally, and we worked with over 200 health centers, and many of them were not doing breast health programming on campuses at all. And so our materials were being used by schools that didn't have budget for them, and they are very thankful to be able to position breast health to these young women and get them thinking about knowing their bodies at a younger age. So, you know, I feel very happy. I left a very well-paying corporate job to pursue doing Feel Your Boobies because it wasn't something I could do part-time on the side. Sure. And so if I didn't feel like it was something that was making a difference, it's certainly not something I would spend my time doing.
See, Mandy, you've got a blog as well, and I love the name of your blog because there's a story behind it. Darn Good Lemonade. Explain the title.
Okay, well, I live in Utah, so we don't use
no
swear
cursing.
Words here.
Yes, no cursing in Utah.
Oh, it's darn.
Yeah.
Good lemonade. Because I figured I'd better make the best out of my diagnosis, which is always kind of that interesting conundrum that everyone feels like they need to be happy all the time and put off this great happy appearance. And breast cancer treatment is rough, and so I try to sometimes make it funny or just make light of some of the tough things that you go through. Sure. But I try and write about those things so that people see that this is what we face when we go through treatment.
See, what's interesting is go ahead, Nikki, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think humor is a great tool. As a comedian, I did my first set about having breast cancer about a week after, but I think it's a really great way
about
to
a
reach
week
people.
After?
Yeah.
Okay, what did you get up on stage and do then? And did people laugh?
People laughed. It was uncomfortable at first. People laughed. A lot of the people in the Philly comedy scene didn't know at that point that I had been diagnosed. So it was sort of an easy way for me to tell them. But I also find that with comedy, sometimes you can go to really dark places as long as you bring it back up. So I think it's a really powerful tool in that way.
Sure. I feel like just from you being on social media and you talking and being out there for people, you're actually helping people understand, and other families as well. Mandy, I found this on your Twitter feed. 2.5 weeks ago, we found breast cancer tumours in my brain waiting to radiate. I feel something as I'm reading this tweet, and I'm really, really rooting for you and for your family and for the support network. But you putting it out there, what happens?
Well, I'm hoping that they speed up the process. They told me it could take up to 5 weeks to get approval for brain radiation for tumors that are growing pretty fast, which can have a real impact on how much longer I have to live.
I realise that there's something that I haven't seen this month so far in this whole awareness, is that I'm not seeing an awful lot of what is the experience like. I have had people in my family who've died from cancer, so I understand a lot of it. But if you had a little bit of time right now to really make people aware, can I go around all of you and you can add something so that people come away from this show going, okay, these 4 women taught me something. Nikki, what do you want to share?
I feel like as a young woman, I had a really hard time getting my doctors to take me seriously. When I had my port removed, which is how they put the chemo into you, it actually shook off a blood clot that landed in my heart. But when I told them that I didn't feel well, I was accused of just trying to get more painkillers until my cardiologist called and told me I had to go to the emergency room. So the next morning, my heart actually stopped and I fell on top of my mother. So it's really dangerous. I think that people don't realize that even if you have great doctors, sometimes they don't listen to you, or they listen, but they're not really hearing you.
Right.
And I think it stems from a societal problem for not taking young people seriously and also from not taking women seriously.
Lee, what do you want to share from your experience that's going to be your takeaway for us?
I would agree with almost everything Nikki said. I felt the same way when I felt my own lump, that the doctors, I don't know if it was that they weren't taking me seriously, but because I was young and I was a marathon runner, I didn't have a family history, it was something that they easily kind of pushed off as nothing to worry about. And I have a very aggressive personality in terms of being proactive, and I was pacified by it because I didn't feel sick. Of course, as you guys know, that's not part of breast cancer. At the early onset of it, you don't feel sick. So I let it go myself for a little while. So I think about all the women who maybe aren't as proactive or brave enough to really push forward and make sure that somebody gives them the test that they need. I think these stories that people are willing to share and all of their different experiences are so important to let not only young women, but other women hear these stories, and they benefit from that. And I think Anne, with her community around metastatic breast cancer, and Mandy's stories, we all have different journeys, but the way we choose to share our stories help other people.
Sure.
And essentially ourselves too, not in a selfish way, but it is a way of kind of
I wondered about that,
dealing with your own situation.
Let me show you a picture of Anne. Anne, you very generously showed this picture here, and this is you while you're going through one of your many chemo treatments. If you were going to tell our audience who are watching right now something that they will remember, you can make them more aware of what breast cancer actually means beyond all the pink washing, what would it be?
For me, it means that you die. My life has been taken away piece by piece. I can't work anymore. My children grew up with a sick mother. I have been completely medicalized. I have a doctor's appointment several times a week. I'm in and out of treatment, always in treatment, but depending on the harshness, I've done on my 8th chemo. Chemo makes you sick. It's just not a pretty pink disease. It is a terrible disease. Anybody from any stage can end up where I am. So what we really need is the focus to be on research and a cure.
And Mandy, finally from you, what do you want to leave us with that's so important from your experience of going through breast cancer, now having terminal breast cancer?
My main focus is that people pay attention to the organizations that do donate to research, and specifically metastatic research. Several of them are part of a group called the Metastatic Breast Cancer Alliance. Metavivor is a great one too. And it's also an opportune time to write your senators about making some important changes about the tracking and medications that are available to metastatic patients. It will make a difference in all of our lives, and hopefully someday save the lives of others. If I'm not around to see the change, I want to make that change for others.
Malika.
I will share 2 pieces of advice from our community. This is from Beth, who says, thanks for asking this question on what we would like people to know about breast cancer. She says, breast cancer is a horrific disease that causes suffering and can kill. It's not a pink party. And the second piece of advice is from Ahmed, who says, it's critical to find a support group because you don't have to battle breast cancer alone.
Nikki and Lee and Anne and Mandy, thank you so much for making us so much more aware of what breast cancer really, really means. If I could give you a big hug right now, I would. All of you. Thank you for being on the stream. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.